Hello there everyone, and welcome back to yet another beautiful video. Today, we are finally back talking about another designer. It has been a while since I've done that, and I wanted to get out a designer overview history video before my next video, which is going to be more on the art side again of what I create. So yes. Welcome, as always. Let's get started.
And we don't like federal agents.
We are talking about a designer today that I should have talked about many moons ago at this point. I talked about someone who is in an incredibly similar field to them 2 years ago, and that would be Uma Wang. Today we are actually talking about Ziggy Chen. Now, Ziggy Chen is another Shanghai-based, born and raised designer. There's going to be important aspects to that later on as I get more into his history. But yes, born and raised Shanghai, graduated college with a degree in fashion in the 1990s. Now, his label started in 2011, very late 2011, releasing in 2012. So we have about a 20-year period there where Ziggy was actually involved on the management side of the fashion industry rather than designing. And he states a lot in more modern interviews sort of how he was able to relearn and reimagine the fashion design process now that he has restarted, especially 20 years on, in a very new environment that his fashion wouldn't have done as well in, let's say, 20 years ago, especially within China. By 2010, Ziggy was already experimenting with making his own stuff, and he released his first collection, which technically was not under the Ziggy Chen label. This was under the label De Coaster Concept, and you can see a lot of very heavy inspiration and a general sense on where Ziggy wants to go when he was first creating this collection. A very nice quote from Cool Hunting magazine. They described this collection as Mongolian desolate windy grasslands and sartorial culture meet the austerity of military uniforms, monks, herders, soldiers. And I feel that encapsulates it well. And we see this continue as Ziggy creates his actual label. After releasing this first capsule in 2010, we can feel that he has a lot of concepts that he wishes to push into, but he did not have the will to do it yet. And that's where family and friends came in and eventually persuaded him to continue creating. A lot of the stuff he was creating was for fun. He has very deep interests in the 1700s, 1800s, and especially European and Chinese silhouettes in fashion during those eras. By late 2011, he was fully convinced to go forward, and he created his label Ziggy Chen. By 2012, he had released his first collection, and by 2013, he was already getting quite a bit of notoriety. He has a very strong emphasis on aspects of the creation process being extraordinarily natural, whether that's the fabric, whether that's the paper for the patterns, and the actual design of itself. It feels very handcrafted at times. Let's get into some brand philosophy. From the very beginning, and as I even just said, an emphasis on extraordinarily natural aspects of the fashion design process are present. When it comes to the material, it is going to be cotton, it is going to be wool, it is going to be linen. No synthetic fabrics are usually used, which I always love being an ethos or a concept that a designer uses. Another thing that Ziggy notes himself is that the brand's ethos is to attract different things at the same time, almost feeling like opposite fields colliding. And we can see that with this taking of the old clothing from the 1800s in China and taking it from Europe and making it into a modern equivalent. Ziggy has noted himself that a lot of his inspiration comes from pieces that are over 100 years old that he finds are just unwearable in this day and age. And then his goal is to take those concepts and silhouettes that we see in the older fashion and transform it into more wearable modern attire. Earlier I mentioned Uma Wang, and I brought her up for a very important reason. Despite her starting a year earlier in 2009, both her and Ziggy Chen are really seen as a pivot point in the history of Chinese fashion. Most notably, they helped destigmatize the ideas that went along with Chinese fashion, such as it being copies, such as it being cheap. And they showed that they can have their own unique scene, and at that, a very, very solid avant-garde scene. As Ziggy Chen and Uma Wang go on, they are inspirations to brands that are under the Shanghai-based company Labelhood that continue to create and output absolutely gorgeous items of fashion. If you have not heard of Labelhood before, and you are interested in designers such as Ziggy Chen and Uma Wang, and especially upcoming designers within Shanghai, within the Chinese area, you definitely have to check out that label. I think, personally, to see someone go from within the fashion industry, yet not in the side of designing, and finally reaching that point and creating something so amazing is spectacular. It really shows that there is no limit to when you can create. Ziggy Chen was 40 years old in 2010, 2011, when he first started actually making clothing again. And it's even more amazing to see concepts that he was emphasizing in 2013, such as very heavy patchwork on a blazer that he said is the staple of his brand, then evolving into more of the modern collections where we continue to see these ideas, yet they have been refined, they have been perfected, they have reached a level of sophistication that we see akin to Yohji Yamamoto and certain silhouettes that have been refined over the years. And to see this done, nevertheless, within a 10-year time period is astounding. Anyways, I have a piece from Ziggy Chen, and I am going to show it off. I recently got this absolute beautiful gilet or vest from Ziggy Chen. As any of you who watch my channel know, I am a massive fan of gilets, and to say the least, this is one of the most impressive ones I have ever seen when it comes to the blending of the linings down to the construction of the pockets, the wood buttons used, and the astonishing fabric that we see throughout the entire piece. Once again, all natural fabrics, and it feels and it shows and it pays off, because this is a beautiful piece to not only have on body but feel in hand. The colors different yet blend into each other because of the consistent use of the natural fabric. Of course, we have the massive designer label within the inside. This is from the Fall/Winter 22 collection. Astonishing. I was mentioning I have a lot of gilets already. I do not regret getting this, especially because I have been making a lot of my own clothing rather than buying recently, and being able to support someone who has such an immense passion and visually lives in the same world as me is beautiful. But yes, that is just a quick overview of who Ziggy Chen is, what his label is, and some background to the significance of his influence within the fashion space, especially within China. As always, I hope you guys learned something and enjoyed this video, and have an amazing day.